Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Retro Bliss. You're on the Retro Bliss Rewind podcast. Welcome to the show. If you guys are watching from over at Mike's Gaming Gala, we are simulcasting over there. We are going to have a fun show tonight. For those of you who do not know, Atari has released a new Intellivision console, and we are going to be talking about it. It's called the Intellivision Sprint. It was showcased at PRGE this past weekend. I was not there, but my two panelists that we have tonight were there, and we're just going to let them kind of talk. We're going to do some speculation, some talk, and that kind of thing. So without further delay, let's bring in Mike from Mike's Gaming Gala. He was at PRGE.
I was there.
Who can do an Intellivision podcast without Casey, the Intellivision gamer? What's going on?
What's going on, guys?
Hey,
how's it going?
So let me explain something real quick. I'm going to let these guys talk, but there's been so much content posted on Casey's channel, and I think on Mike's channel as well, about this. And I thought, we've talked about this on the show before, where if you pre-order something, you might be safer to do it on Amazon. And so I've looked on Amazon, looked, and here in the US, it's just not there. And I'm like, you know what? Atari says they're going to ship early December, which means early February. But I didn't care. I just went ahead and pulled the trigger. I really, really want one of these after seeing what these guys have shown on their channel. So I don't know who wants to go first, but I want you guys to explain what this new console, what the name of it is, what it is, and how it may benefit an Intellivision lover.
Well, I guess I'll start with the intro. So the new console is the Intellivision Sprint. Like a lot of what Atari does these days, it is an emulation console that is designed to play Intellivision ROMs. It does not have a cartridge slot. However, it does have a USB port where you can load and play your own ROMs. In addition to this, Atari will be selling ROM USB sticks. We know of 4 that are coming. Atari has not officially announced that. Which games those are yet. I flubbed in my initial Intellivision Sprint video, and I did name them. So I'm not going to name them right here, but if you're a big fan of Homebrew Inc. and Electronite, you will know the games that are coming.
They're all good games.
Yep, they're all good games, and they're games with the exception of one that Atari owns the rights to. So much like they did with when they came out with the Atari 2600 Plus, and they were starting to make cartridges, they've gone out into the homebrew community, found games that honestly are infringing their copyright, and instead of sending a cease and desist, they have worked with them to acquire those games and release them under their own banner. So that's fantastic. It has 45 built-in Intellivision games, and the emulator that it is using is a version of JZIN-TV, which means it is fully JLP compatible. That is important for those who don't know, because the vast majority of homebrews now use what are called JLP carts, which are they have like a save feature, they have added ROM, certain different quality of life improvements, and so for anybody wanting to play homebrews, you don't have to worry about, okay, is this ROM that I've bought from Intellivision Collector going to work? They all should work, and I know Casey and the Intellivision group, they did a lot of testing with different ROMs, and Casey actually has a video on his channel. If you want the really, like, I'm a great opinions guy, and I'm a great, like, first impressions guy, but when it comes to Intellivision, I was saying to Casey this whole weekend, it's like, dude, this is your Olympics. You've got to run, and he did. And he's got an upcoming, at some point, interview with Atari He did a preliminary interview with Atari on site, and that's a great video on his channel. And he's shown some of the ROM testing. So when it comes to the absolutely deep down, in-depth stuff, if you're not subscribed to the Intellivision Gamer, you really should be.
If you like Intellivision, that's the place to be.
Yeah. So the last couple features in just the preliminary, and then I'm going to toss to Casey, who can maybe go into more details, is there are ports, and Atari is going to be coming out with a dongle that will be a DB9 to USB port, where you can use your own controllers. So you can use an OG Hugo, you can use a BD Retro Mods arcade stick, you can use... there's a lot of other guys out there that make controllers, or your original Intellivision 2 or Sears controllers you'll be able to use. In addition to really good feeling wireless controllers that come with the system. And then you got HDMI, HDMI out, and it's a beautiful little package.
So I have a question before Casey jumps in there. The controllers do look awesome. And they look like they're about the same size as the original. Is that right? Are they approximately the same size?
They're exactly the same size.
They look great.
Yeah. And they fit the overlays. We tested that. We can
2.4.
Go ahead.
They're 2.4 what is it, gigahertz? They're not Bluetooth, they're 2.4. And they have quite a range. They let me walk all the way across and well past into the arcade, and I couldn't even see the screen, and they're still working perfectly.
Wow. That's nuts.
Mr. Postal, Casey is not the one driving the car. Casey is a responsible YouTuber.
Yeah, for everyone wondering, I'm on the way home from PRGE. I'm about 25-30 minutes away from home, and that's why I'm in the car. But yeah, we switched a little bit ago, and I'm in the passenger seat.
So in the chat here, we've got William from Electronite. That's miscellaneous Intellivision games.
Hey, William.
Electronite plans to sell Sprint compatible releases, which shouldn't be too difficult because based on all the testing that was done, Sprint's compatible with basically everything you guys tested it with, right? Casey, do you want to tell us a little bit about your compatibility testing?
So Luke set up the Intellivision Collector. He set up a whole group of homebrew games that use different, forms of protection, all different levels of, what the sizes were, and everything that we threw at it, it worked flawlessly except for one thing, game saves, which they are aware of, and they're going to be working on that. But yeah, I mean, everything was pretty much flawless, and it was great to see. I also did that video where, I showed how easy it was. It's like 53 seconds long. You have to have ROMs or bin and config files. There was another file. Oh, I can't remember what it was. John, the Gen X grown-up, he tried a different kind of file, and it wouldn't load. So we did test ROMs and bin and configs, and they worked flawlessly.
Aside from the LTO specific Luigi files, which you would not expect to work because those were locked to an LTO flash cart. The only things I've ever seen are the ROMs and the bin and configs. So if it runs those, honestly, that runs everything that I've really come across. So if John had a special magic ROM, I don't know.
And I remember whenever he said it, I have seen those, but not many people use those.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a short period of time where they were being used.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. We just kept thinking of more things to test, and we'd go over there and try it. And the Atari guys were great. They were telling us lots of information. They were letting us try whatever we wanted. It was, and you can tell these guys they're ready for feedback. They're ready for suggestions. I mean, obviously they're not going to take everything in, but they are really, really want to make a great product, and they want to involve the community. So, I mean, it's great to see they're not just saying, here's the console and hope you guys like it. And they'll be able to do firmware updates. It wasn't known.
Well, I was gonna say that one of the things that really impressed me is early on the Friday when I was at the Atari booth and I was first like my very first hands-on with the Sprint. Pretty shortly after me starting to play, one of the Atari guys came up and was asking me all these questions. What do you think? How does it feel? What would you improve? What would you do? And all this stuff. And my feedback was pretty damn glowing. One thing that I'm not sure anybody has mentioned yet, the interrupt on the controller is still there. So it's very authentic in that way. So the way the Intellivision controllers work is the disc and the number pad. Like if you're playing a game like Tron Deadly Discs and you're running one direction and you want to shoot with the other direction, you pause briefly because there's an interrupt when you hit that button. That is still present on these controllers, which I don't find to be a bad thing at all.
We tested that as well. Obviously, we couldn't test with Tron unless we put it on there, but we were able to test that with Night Stalker. And the other cool thing is you can use couplers because using two controllers also fixes the problem. Just like on an original console, we tested that as well. Caleb 8-Bit Widgets, he was over there already looking at making a coupler for the controllers for those that want to do that. And we tried it both ways.
So let me address... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Real quick, just to let everyone know, if anyone is, asking me anything, you guys need to bring it up because I cannot see chat.
Yep, I'm just about to do that. So Jolt here and Retrobo has a similar point to make. I'll read both of these. Jolt 7800 says, "I am very curious about this console. As someone who's never owned an Intellivision, this might be a good way to jump in. I'll see what the panel says." And then in a similar vein, Retro Bro says, "Never played much of the Intellivision, had one a few years ago, but pre-ordered for the Sprint for one, the novelty, and two, I think it's a good thing for people like me as a reintroduction to the Intellivision brand." We can all give our thoughts on this, but I think this is a fantastic introduction for anyone to the Intellivision.
I tell you what one thing that impressed me was they 45 games, right? So
45 built in,
and all retail ones, right? Except for one. I think there's maybe one.
You've got Boulder Dash,
right?
Yeah, so you got Boulder Dash on there. That's an Electronite game, and it was really funny because when I was playing Boulder Dash, and the Atari guy was asking me all the questions. I'm like, "Did you guys know about this?" And so I bring up Boulder Dash, and it goes to the title screen, and I press 9, and there's the 5 bonus caves that are exclusive to the Intellivision version of Boulder Dash, and he had no idea. So that's a little thing for anybody who's getting one. Press 9 at the title screen of Boulder Dash, and you get 5 extra caves that were programmed by Scott Nuds, and I love them. They're really fun.
So, Hugo has a question. The adapters for the original systems using new controllers. I did bring that up to them, and it seemed like they thought that they weren't going to be doing that because they were thinking only Intellivision 2 consoles can use those controllers. But I pointed out to them that would be huge for original console owners because all consoles can use them nowadays. You've got the Sears, you've got the Intellivision 2, of course, but we also have adapters to plug in and let everyone use any controller they want. And so these controllers with a dongle would be great. They are made, I want to take one apart, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty much the same inside. They feel the same, they act the same, and having that where you can't do dual movement and shooting, I'm pretty sure they are built the same.
Yeah, and Kun Mang, we'll talk about the price point a little later. I know that's a contentious issue for some people, but we'll talk about the price point. Personally,
I have some input on that as well when we get to that.
Yeah, but why don't we address, I think, the biggest elephant in the room for some people, which is the lack of a cartridge slot, and that is. One thing that people have to realize is the Sprint is not an Intellivision Plus.
No.
Much like the 400 Mini is not an Atari Plus system. This is much more in vein with the 400 Mini. frankly, I think it's better because it emulates like the ability to use original controllers on this. But it is much more in that vein. What do you guys think about that? And the whole cartridge slot thing?
I mean, you guys actually are more Intellivision experts than I am. Although William's on here. He knows I've purchased a bunch of homebrews from him, and I've purchased homebrews from other from Intellivision Revolution and other places. I'm falling in love with this thing, and as far as controllers go, I'm not. I don't want to say I'm a fan of the original controller, but I didn't grow up with it.
In all honesty, most people aren't. They really have their followers for sure, but like it's a fair point to make.
Now, if there is an ability to use third-party controllers, there are some really good ones, although there are some games because that the controller is a 16-way controller. And so many of the aftermarket controllers, not all, but many of the aftermarket controllers are only 8-way. So there are going to be some games that aftermarket controllers may not work on.
We have some.
However,
there are some, and with that dongle, we're going to be able to use any of these controllers that guys are putting out.
That's excellent.
But as for the cartridge slot, now OG Hugo, so here, I think this is, because I saw this too on Atari's announcement, I think it was something that was worded wrong. So
it's
OG
just
Hugo
for the controllers.
says, yeah, for the so the website did say that you'll be able to connect Intellivision 2 and Intellivision 2 controllers. I don't see any way to connect an Intellivision 2 to this, so you can't use your Intellivision 2 to be able to play cards.
No, just to the controllers.
Now, there are several thoughts around why this doesn't have a cartridge slot. First of all, it's not in that plus line. It's not meant for cartridges. But also, in order to have full JLP compatibility, JLP has protection from dumping ROMs from their carts. That is not to say that cannot be worked around in certain different creative ways, working in tandem with Joe's Bishak. But the fact is that to get a price point that, like, I don't think $150 for what I saw, if this was your typical mini, I would agree $150 is really steep. But it isn't. It really isn't. And it feels like a proper console. It feels like it belongs in that plus line. And so for me, the $150 price point, I think, is perfectly fair. I think it is decent value for what you get. And with the help of a USB stick, you can have the entire 125 original and tons of great homebrew ROMs at your fingertips at all times.
Now,
I have heard from multiple sources. So it is beyond any kind of, it's not an unsubstantiated rumor that we will be getting a version that is more along the lines of Intellivision Plus, but I am almost certain that one will not play ROMs.
I would agree with that. Just like the 2600 and 7800 Plus do not play ROMs. You get the cart, you don't get the ROMs. You get the ROMs, you don't get the cart. I don't know why it has to be that way, but it seems to be.
I understand why they do it. It would be nice to have an all-in-one, right? It's got an SD card slot and it's got a cart slot. Trust me, I've gotten flack for saying that I would love a cart slot on the 2600 Plus.
Well, now my thought on that is,
SD
if
slot.
Atari is actually going to be selling the USBs with ROMs on there, they may change their tune on that. You know what I'm? It's very possible, because if that's a revenue generating product for the Sprint, they may want
sell more games.
to progress and move over to just selling the if there is a Intellivision Plus, just sell that. You know, if it can do all of it, why sell both?
I've seen
So
that
I
come
am-
up a few times. So this is compatible with ECS games and IntelliVoice games. We ran diagnostics on this thing, and I took pictures of all of it. Yeah, I don't know how the keyboard would connect. That was brought up to them as well. There are versions from David Harley that make it where you do not need the keyboard, which may be the route you have to take for this.
It does. I mean, one of the great things about this is you're a firmware upgrade away from a lot of different things. And if they could make it so
From
that you can
anything
plug
working.
a US, yeah, if they can make it so that you can plug a USB keyboard into one of those ports in the back, then theoretically keyboard ECS games would be fine too. The only thing you wouldn't be able to play is like a Melody Blaster for the couple dozen people who
synthesizer.
have one of those. Yeah.
And
then
I talked to a few of the technical guys, and they said they fully plan on, to keep upgrading the firmware, and they're dedicated to make this thing better and better.
That's awesome to hear. Sprint question: do the games come with manuals in any form, either printed or electronic? You want to cover this, Casey?
Okay, so they're working on adding a QR code to where you will scan, and then it'll pop it up. So they do not come with manuals. I was lucky enough to unbox one of the two consoles. One of the Davids, there's two Davids there. I forget his name. But he's like, would you like to unbox one? And I'm like, well, yeah. So I got to take it all apart, take pictures. There's no manuals, and it's nothing implemented yet. But they are going to add the QR code, and that's perfect because you can just scan it, pop it up, and check out the manual and, maybe the overlay. I can't remember if the overlay was included in that, but we have those.
Yeah. Torque here is saying it's funny to see people that complain that the 2600 plus can't run ROMs while simultaneously whinging that the Sprint can't run carts.
Yeah.
I am one of those
No matter
people.
what.
Like I don't. You're never going to please everybody. I do wish that, because the only real hang up on being able to play everything on the Plus systems is the cart dumper. And so the cart dumper is where the weakness is. I've got tons of carts. I love to play my carts, both Intellivision and 2600. But I think if I'm thinking consumer based, I'd love something that does both, so it pleases both me and somebody who's new to Intellivision. For an introduction
I think Phil
to
may have
Intellivision,
if they start selling them.
Go ahead.
If they sell the USB sticks.
Yeah, if they start selling the USBs, then they might put it on the thing. But they also want to sell carts. I believe OG Hugo made a comment. I'm way behind on the comments, guys, by the way. Yeah, so I mean, if they start selling games on USB, then theoretically they could throw it on a future Intellivision Plus with a cart. I don't think they will, though. I think the USBs will be for the Sprint, and they'll sell carts for the other. But hey, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about that when that time comes.
Yeah, and Williams says that the reason that he advised Atari to allow third-party controllers to work with the system is to allow original controller haters to have options. Options are never a bad thing, man. I love my OG Hugo. I love, when I'm playing ColecoVision, I play only with BD Retro Mods arcade stick because I hate that control. I'm a original Coleco controller hater, so it's always good to give other people options.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to hurt if you love the original controller. It'll let you play with that. If you want to hook up arcade sticks or game pads, why not have it all available?
And so here's two different sides of it. Timeless Tony says, I'm out on it because of no cart slot, but that's just me, hoping to see a Plus next year. And Off Grid Arcade, Bart, he says, it would have been a hard pass for me if it was carts only. So this is exactly what I've hoped they'd release. And both are perfectly fair comments. This is not going to be for everyone. If you like your carts and all you care about is playing your carts, it's not the system for you. don't get it.
But I mean, there's still value there. Being able to add them all on, hook it to a TV in the living room. That's what I'm going to do with one of mine. Being able to play the entire 125 library and most of the homebrews, a lot of them are available in ROM format these days.
Yep.
And
But
there
some people,
are talks that more are going to go that way.
yeah, but some people, especially if you already have a big collection, you want to play that collection, and I understand that. I'm never going to be here trying to convince anybody to buy anything. Although I do have PSVR 2 Retro Zone. Thank you very much, by the way. Is looking forward to buying this and the Vectrex Mini, and I'll have a Vectrex Mini video coming this week. And as many people who watch me know, I was super skeptical, and now I'm like super, oh my God, I have to buy
He
them.
was.
I was like, who needs a tiny Vectrex?
I already knew I was getting it.
Yeah. Jolt 7800 says
the controllers weren't final.
Yes, I know, but even then they felt pretty decent actually. You don't play it like a Vectrex, you hold it in your hand, but
yeah,
this isn't a Vectrex Mini show. We'll probably actually have one of those in a couple weeks, but the cartridge slot is not a big issue for me since I'm waiting to get more of a plug and play. So that's the one thing I really like about this. It's a plug and play in that, like, it's a high-end plug and play. Those controllers are really nice, but it's a plug and play that you could never do anything to it, and it'll play those 45 games. And there's some pretty decent games on there, mostly original library, but like we said, you got Boulder Dash on there, which is a homebrew release from Electronite in 2015. You could throw your stick in there and you could add all the original games and a bunch of homebrew games, some of which are cheap or free rather. And then you could take it to the next degree and you can get the dongles to allow you to use original or aftermarket controllers and play it in that way. I think it allows levels. If it was just the 45 on there and you couldn't add your own ROMs, I'd be out. I don't care about that. I've got those games already.
Yeah, you've got to either have carts or ROMs.
Yeah. So it's William, who, by the way, was very instrumental in the Sprint becoming a thing, at least in the form that it came out, which I'm very happy for. This was part of my speculation. And I think all you guys agreed with me on the Intellivision Gamers show. This was probably a couple months ago, that we knew that William was working with them, so we felt pretty good that it'd be JLP compatible. But he says, my guess is that the Intellivision Plus will look like the Sprint, but just have a cartridge port.
That makes sense.
I'm not sure tariffs have all to do with it. It really felt like a high quality electronic device, but they do they do affect things. I don't know how much that price reflects that, but this felt as good, if not better, than like the Plus systems. Like it felt really, really good.
PJ was asking a question, but we haven't gotten that far down on the chat, I don't believe.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it here, because this is a question that I had asked prior when we were speculating about a possible Intellivision Plus or something down the road. So, Mike, read this and answer this for PJ.
Or why not just make a cartridge adapter that fits in television carts and slides into a 26 Plus or a 78 Plus and jack up the firmware? Potentially possible. The big problem again, and you could use also theoretically, because we were talking about this before the show, if you could make a cart dumper that dumped to a small embedded hard drive in a dongle that then plugged into USB, so that the USB could read it like a USB key and just like it gets that little file, then theoretically you could play carts on the Sprint by having a kind of separate cart dumper with a USB cord. But that doesn't get you past the whole JLP thing. And again, maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way because I am a homebrew channel. But I maintain that the reason to own a Intellivision in 2025 is the homebrew library. No question. There is absolutely no question that the homebrew library mops the floor with the original library. And there's some really good games in the original library. I'm not sitting here trashing the original library. But if you don't have that JLP support, I was on the record before this was even announced as if you don't have JLP support, that thing's a piece of junk. I don't want it.
Yep, I can't argue with that at all.
So it's one of those things like, yeah, you could probably make a card adapter, but it would have to be able to dump JLP ROMs. And you need Joe's B-Shack to be able to do that. And
yeah, there's only one guy that can do that.
Yeah, and thankfully he is working with Atari, which is part of why we figure that a proper Intellivision Plus may be coming as soon as next year. Mr. Postal, you are absolutely correct. It'd be great for recording gameplay and streaming. I think we answered this one already. Again, I'm really behind on the chat. I apologize. You guys are flying.
ECS support.
It does have full ECS support. We're not sure about keyboard compatibility, but that is as easy as a firmware update away from a USB keyboard being able to plug into one of those backports.
Earlier, even if we don't get that, David Harley in Intellivision.us has all of them converted and not need the keyboard. So worst case scenario, we can still play them.
Yeah. And OG Hugo, yeah, if there's a cart slot, that means they can sell carts. And I have no doubt that will, when they do release a cartridge system, they'll be selling carts. And they may anyway.
They do have full plans. They want to sell games. They are looking for programmers. They inquired about a lot of different things. They have big plans, and they want to release a lot of things. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to this.
Now, I've got something to say here. Mike has a video on his channel about how to get ROMs, okay, or even carts, right? Because the Intellivision community has kind of been somewhat convoluted as far as how it's not just as simple as going to a website, checking out and you wait for your games. It doesn't work that way in many, many cases. But we have Electronite, we have Intellivision Revolution, we have other companies out there now that are probably going to start making it hopefully a little easier to buy ROMs from them, unless they work directly with Atari, in which case Atari will be the middleman, which may bump up the price of the ROM or whatever. But
possibly,
but I'd like to be able to get it and put it on my own stick and not have to worry about buying a separate stick from Atari is what I would like.
Go ahead,
the Atari
Casey.
The Atari games are really reasonably priced. I bought a lot of those this weekend too.
Yep.
I don't think it would raise it too much. I think they have a price point, and I think it'll be highly comparable.
It's the economy of scale. It's the economy of scale. The fact of the matter is, Atari, with the amount of eyes that it's able to hit, is going to sell a lot more games than any individual homebrew publisher is probably going to sell. And so they can buy a lot more material in bulk, which lowers their prices, which means they can hit a better price point. Intellivision homebrew games, physical homebrew games, will probably cost more than Atari 2600 ones. There's more there, but shouldn't be too much more based on their economy of scale. William says USB delivery could be a paradigm shift for game delivery for the Intellivision. It would be cheaper than a JLP cart and allow for massive games. That is absolutely true. I was actually talking to Intellivision Revolution, and he was thinking, those USB cards you get where it looks like a card, and you can kind of pop out the bottom as a USB key. That would be a great delivery system. You get these little cards that have the game on it. It's really just a USB key, but you can even put them in a box. That's your physical media. I think a lot of homebrewers are going to in the last year and a half, I think homebrewers are warming up in the Intellivision community are warming up a lot more to the idea of ROM sales. Certainly, like in this last year, we saw Electronite and Homebrew Inc. open up ROM sales on at least their older titles. And I think now with the Sprint, especially if the community for it starts to really kind of come.
And we have
it's
a lot of new people already.
It's going to force a lot of homebrewers to really consider, okay, ROMs, whether even if it's I'm going to ship you a USB with it on, it's going to push, I think, homebrew in that direction. It's not going to get rid of carts. Old farts like us, we love our carts, and we're still going to buy carts. But especially for the games that maybe aren't worth $80 to get a copy of the game. You know, if I can buy a game that is not necessarily that big top quality, but I get it for a $10 ROM, I'm more than happy with that. Now, and then if you want to make it fancy and put it on a USB, sure.
Yeah, if they're shipping it out on a USB stick and you don't have a Sprint, you can still load it on a backbit, an LTO, a PyRTO. I mean, most of those are playing all the homebrews. You still have other options. It's not just going to be for the Sprint.
Yeah. And Andy Author here says, the problem with other consoles like this is a game list. It seems like that's the same problem with the Sprint, except for it isn't, because you can load whatever games you want on it.
All of them.
Honestly, like, we can't tell you where to find it, but if you Google Intellivision ROM list, full set, you have the full 125 original games like in 2 minutes. And William says he just advised Atari to allow for an ECS compatible adapter.
There are a lot of not just, there are a lot of legal ways to download full game ROMs. There's a lot of them. Oscar Toledo G and Intellivision.us has a lot of free ones, or they're like $5. I mean, there's a lot of good homebrews free.
And then for
free.
the homebrews, you can email Electronite or contact them through their Facebook page. Intellivision Collector, almost all of their games have ROMs. I know, unfortunately, Montezuma's Revenge, he couldn't get digital rights, so that one's a card only. But
you could email Electronite and ask, for what you have available. Anything that's been available in the past, he says he's been willing to sell in ROM packages, and these ROM packages just keep getting sweeter. You have all the digital artwork most of the time, the manuals, the overlays, the ROM. They're sweet.
Yep, absolutely. What else? Man, I'm moving through the chat. That's where I'm looking.
Okay. I don't know. It's just I don't know what to think, because I mean I didn't have my hands on it. You guys, your level of excitement is here because you were there.
I can tell you,
you got to see it in action. And
if you okay, you know how the 2600 Plus feels. Proper metal switches, really good quality plastic. The joysticks and the paddles, they feel like brand new originals. Like, I know a lot of people like, oh, the paddle, you got to work the paddles in, and then they feel like they're original. But the CX40s feel like an original CX40 that was in brand new shape. This feels the same, at the same level of quality, the same level. The one thing that, like, and I've given Atari their lumps for sure, but the one thing I cannot complain about is the quality feel of their products, at least their consoles. The Intellivision Plus, the 2600 Plus and the 7800 Plus feel quality, and this matches, if not exceeds, that feel.
Everything's been good that I've received, except for, I would say, the VCS seems to be a little bit of a downgrade as far as quality, especially the controllers. Although they're good, I mean, they had a sale, so I picked up some anyway, But I've been very pleased. The 400 Mini, very high quality. The controller that came with that, it's a CX40 with a USB on it. Feels stiff. I'm not used to that because you guys know I didn't grow up with that. I had the CX10, right? So I'm
there was a joke there. Casey's losing it. Yeah, you were you had the CX10s, so they have a wider throw.
Yeah,
they don't feel as rigid.
Right.
And Casey's turning all shades of red now. So Mr. Postal says the USBs will be coming with overlays, correct? I imagine they would. Something that we didn't mention is that there is 2 little boxes inside the Intellivision Sprint box that come with overlays for all of the games that are on it.
And they're double-sided, right?
No, those are not
No.
double-sided. They're single.
No, they're single-sided like the originals. And so I imagine the USB sold games would come with overlays. I notice way down here, I got to scroll. William says that he plans on selling ROMs with manuals and overlays.
That's a good idea, William.
That's a really good idea. Now I got to scroll back up.
While you're doing that, I want to mention something about William.
Sure.
If you guys don't know anything about Electronite games in general, he is the level that everybody aspires to be at. He's the quality of his games, the packaging of the games, just everything just is top notch. It's really hard to beat Electronite games, but there are other programmers out there that have good games as well. So there's if they start selling these in ROM form so that you can play them on this new Sprint, that's huge, man. That's huge.
And currently, I know if you buy from Electronite or Homebrew Inc. or Intellivision Collector, those are the three the main ones that I bought ROMs from. They come with the full digital package. So you get a PDF of the manual, you get image of the overlay, you get an image of the sticker you get the box art in there. So everything's in there. And if they were to sell, here's this small box. It has a USB key with your ROM on it, and it has the overlays and a little manual in there. That would be a really cool way to get, especially because it makes it that much cheaper. Like William said, getting a ROM and putting it on a USB key or delivering it digitally is so much cheaper than a JLP cart, a full-on cart.
And sometimes they're hard to get, so it's not even about the money. Sometimes it's just impossible to get the boards.
Yeah, there was that difficulty. I know that difficulty isn't what it was during like the COVID times. The COVID times were dark times for the Intellivision homebrew community.
And now, you've got the tariffs on the boards. That
doesn't help either. Code Maser says it would be nice for the Sprint to allow custom game icons for side-loaded USB ROMs in a future update. That is something where you'd be able to put. I believe it's just you'd put the image that you want for it, and you've got to name it a certain way in your file structure on the USB, and then it should just pop in. It's not there right now.
Someone was saying that if you name the file the same, it should work, but we unfortunately did not test that. Atari guy says that's not a thing yet, but it will be. But the one thing to know too, when you are playing the original 45 games, you've got those. If you stick in a USB key, it goes to a different menu. You do not have those 45 games, and you only have accessible the ROMs you have on your USB stick. And I asked if it would be a way to just like go whoop and kind of have them all mixed in, and they said they didn't want to alter the main area, the main menu, but you can load them all on a USB stick, and then when add your photos and just have one stick and have everything there ready to go.
That said, here's something that I do know: the 4 homebrews that are becoming that you can get on the USB that Atari is selling. Their USBs, when you plug it in, it will integrate it into that menu.
Oh, nice.
So let's say, I'll say one of them, Caverns of Mars, the Intellivision version. You plug in, Caverns of Mars will just be selectable in that menu.
Because they're the official ones where we're talking about, like your own ROM.
We're talking about your, yeah. Timeless Tony says, I'm almost as old as Phil, almost. And don't mess with ROMs. I'm still living in the 80s. If I can't feel my cart going to a slot, I better stop there.
Yes. This sounds like Casey's show last night.
It wasn't that bad.
Will it play Amico's game is what Chuck is wondering. No. I don't think Chuck thinks that this will play Amico games. If they made a cartridge adapter that plugs into the USB on the Sprint, I'd buy that. Yeah, the biggest problem is somebody would have to figure out how to get past JLP. But if you just want to play your original library, I think theoretically it shouldn't be that difficult for somebody with some tech knowledge to just have a ROM dumper that automatically dumps it to a USB readable disk that the Sprint could read.
You know, we've touched on this a little bit already, but us three, we are collectors. We have original hardware that works. But most people, you know, we've talked about this on the show. This old hardware is failing, you know, and it's not, you know, while we know some people that can get these things up and running again, that's not necessarily an option for a lot of people. And so I think this is a really exciting thing to happen for retro gaming, especially if you have nostalgia for the Intellivision. But even if you don't, you guys really should check it out, because since I've gotten into the Intellivision, I really love it. There are a lot of games I have not yet played, but there are some really good ones out there.
DES, the reason he's saying over 200 is because he's a fellow Canadian. Atari does, I don't really want to say this, but it is true. Atari does have a habit of 6 months after they release something, the price drops or there's a sale or something. So if you're really wanting this and you're really balking at the price, give it a little bit of time. I'm sure at some point there will be a sale. I'm going to be a day one buyer, but I'm also going to be making videos about it and all that stuff. And in terms of burger time,
makes us.
Yeah, in terms of burger time, you can load the ROM and play it, but it isn't built in. That basically they built in the games that they own, like they own the games, but they own the rights too. So you're not going to see Tron Deadly Disc, that's a Disney property. You're not going to see Burger Time, that's a Data East property, etc.
One thing I wondered is why they didn't do Cloudy Mountain, because they released that without a license. But I was wondering about that.
That might be a future USB thing. That's, I mean, they gotta sell other games somehow, but the fact is that you can just load it on if you want.
So when it reads the USB, it's got to load from there, right? There's not like a memory slot or area on the actual Sprint where these games can be flashed over or
it reads it directly from the stick, and when you pull it out, it reverts back to the original menu.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So Huge Ass 79, yes, it has full IntelliVoice support. We talked about that. Defender 7800 says that now this could be a great entry point for retro enthusiasts. Now that it's under the Atari brand, it might bring in a newer audience. That's the hope. You know, the more the merrier in here.
But there's
nobody here that's going to complain about any new Intellivision fans.
I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't really have, I'm either Atari or I'm Intellivision. Everyone I remember, we loved them both. There's a lot of Atari fans that also love Intellivision, and a lot of us Intellivision fans love and collect for Atari. I mean, it's one of my top 5 consoles in the 2600, and it always will be. And so I know there's a lot of, support that other way as well.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's a very with the exception of, maybe a dozen of the original library, it's a very approachable system to collect for. And so in the future, if a Plus does come, which all indications point that it will, start collecting for the original television. You can get a pretty good library for pretty cheap.
Yep. Loose carts anyway.
And all the best games, they're usually commons, and for the most part, there are some that are more expensive, but usually the best games are commons and they're cheap.
Yeah. Kun Maying here says, I wonder what the USB keys with new games will have in number of games and what their prices will be, similar to Evercade carts, maybe. I would imagine so. We'll have to wait and see.
There was nothing brought up about that. It's too early.
Yeah. But, and I think the indication that I got was that it'd be a USB key with 4 games would be that first kind of homebrew pack. Again, take that with a grain of salt. Everything is subject to change. What anybody has heard, until Atari actually announces it, Take it with a grain of salt, but these are what I've heard.
So I have a
I just
question
got
about
reminded.
control. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think I have a slight delay because every time I try to jump in when it's quiet, it's like maybe it's because of how I'm connected. But one thing I forgot earlier, they recommend hooking it up to a brick. Do not use your TV's USB port. And then the other thing, oh boy, if you're going to be if you have multiple USB sticks, you're going to be going in and out, in and out, in and out. I would recommend some kind of extender, adapter, hub, so you're not wearing out your port in the back.
That's a good point. Now I have since we're talking about the USB, if you do have like an OG Hugo controller or controller from BD Retro Mods or someone that makes an Intellivision controller, you guys, right? I've got one. It's great.
I've got one.
Do you guys use these on your channel? I haven't got one yet. Where would be a good place to look to get an adapter to use your old controller if you wish to do so?
Are you talking about for emulation or on an original console?
Either. I mean, aren't they the same?
No. Yeah, right there. That is for emulation. And then they make adapters. And why adapters if you want to use it on a regular console?
So I could plug in controllers to this, and it goes USB to my computer. So it's going to be a similar kind of dongle where it's going to be a DB9 port to a USB that you can plug into the back of the Sprint.
But it's going to be proprietary to the
It's
Sprint?
going to be for the Sprint. I'm sure there's a way to use that dongle on your PC, but somebody smarter than me will have to figure out how to actually interface that.
Okay.
Well, once these things start coming out, everyone's going to be trying everything and seeing what we can do and what we can't.
Mr. Posthouse says, I heard they were coming out with an Intellivision Gamer Amiibo. Just scan it while playing any game in case he comes up in the corner of the screen with his latest mail call. I'm going to break. I mean, if you follow Casey on any kind of social media, you already know this. He had this cart that he would wheel back and forth to his hotel with all his purchases. He had like 8 or 9 carts full.
Let me tell you something. I've seen pictures. He's had all of them spread. Like he had to have multiple pictures because he couldn't get them all.
It's a full bedspread
in one
per
shot.
Day.
And
little did he tell you that's a triple king bed that he laid his stuff out.
That's crazy. Now let me tell you something. If you guys watch his show and you see when he does his mail call, if you see his newest mail call, you better be ready to sit there and watch it for about 3 hours. He got so much stuff. I couldn't believe it, and we've talked about this, a homebrew cart. If you buy one, you're lucky if you can get it under 60. Usually they're at least 60, and if not more than that, right? So he was dropping some cheddar on them games, but I do know he works a lot, and he works a lot of overtime to pay for that. A lot of people can't do that, but he works a lot of overtime to pay for that. So
and this
congratulations
is like
to you.
I'm just Super Bowl of shows. For me, it's a Super Bowl of shows. PRGE, it's the largest collection of Intellivision nerds. We all get together. So much is there. So many YouTubers, programmers, publishers. It's like I go there. All saving money ideas are out the window. I see it, I want it, I buy it. And I made I don't know how many trips back the first day, and the second day was a little bit less, and the third day it was my wife's birthday and I had to leave fairly early, but I didn't even get a picture of the third day.
Wow. Andy Author says, so I had mentioned getting the original homebrew or original Intellivision libraries is a 2-minute Google search. And he says, for someone who isn't tech savvy, you got to sit there and fool around with all these steps. That's why I can't get MAME or Daphne to run on my computer. Except the only ability you have to have is the ability to copy files to a USB key. The Sprint takes care of the emulation. You don't have to set anything up. You put your files on a USB and you plug it in. And
the root directory,
it doesn't take a lot of tech. It doesn't take a lot of tech savvy to download files. And I am actually going to be doing a video. I was going to keep it secret, but I'll on getting ROMs for your Sprint. And that's going to be coming out either this week or next week. And I'm going to show you every single resource that I know of that you can go and get ROMs, with the exception of the original 125, because technically that is not legal. So I can't
So
show you
this
that.
will be an
A lot of
update
us-
to your last
That's
one.
what I was going to recommend, that you do an update Sprint version of that last
Yeah.
video from a while back.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And
Makes
Gaming
sense.
Road Warrior, this one of the highlights of my weekend was getting to meet Mike the Gaming Road Warrior. If you haven't checked out his channel, check it out. He
You
was
guys
there.
had so much fun. I wasn't there.
I know, you should have come.
Start planning for next year now.
Yes.
I have
You
to
need
buy a
to
new
plan.
couch because I wore the one I got out now.
But he says he agrees the controller's really nice. He liked how it felt. Mark Bear says he bought everything Electronite offers for ROM. Some of the best money he's spent. Totally agree. Mechanicoid says, I'm fine with the ROM and manual / overlay package. I accept this hybrid future. I'd be fine with that too. I'd still want to get my cartridges.
Yes, I want
Because they're
CIB,
cartridges.
but it's nice, like we talked about earlier, it's nice to have all these options. We get all these homebrews, you can get it digitally. You can, if you want CIB, you can get that. I mean, it's like, please everybody, sell more, everyone's happy. I think there's a way it can be done.
It would be really cool to have a miniature gatefold box.
Oh yeah,
with
that's a cool
Yeah.
idea, William.
Those
I like
sticks
that.
are easy to lose. They're easy to lose. So if you had a
Yeah.
gatefold box to store it in, that would be nice. It also looks nice on a shelf.
A flat one, you could do like a little sticker on the USB stick that looks like the game box, maybe.
Yeah, and William says here, adding to the group of people that are like, oh, I'm just as old as Phil. I was a corporal
few.
in the Canadian Armed Forces when I got my Intellivision in 1980, so I'm old too.
I was 5.
Oh, dear
We won't
Lord.
talk about
In
how
1980, you were 5.
Yeah.
I was -1, so we're good.
I'm one of the
I played my
youngest-
Atari 2600 for 3 years when you were 5. That's crazy.
Yep, I'm one of the youngest guys that grew up with Intellivision from day one.
I didn't have friends that had those. I didn't even have a friend who had another Atari. I was the only one that I knew, except for I had a cousin who had one.
He didn't
But-
even have friends.
I did have friends, but I grew up in the hood, man. A lot of people couldn't afford it. I don't know how we did. Mom and Dad had a Sears credit card and got me Telegames. I think they paid on it for I don't know how long, but that's what we really wanted, so they got it for us.
I would type in chat, but I can't. But Gaming Road Warrior, I picked up a bunch of good NES games. I'm definitely over 500 now.
Next week's episode of the Intellivision Gamer is going to be 4 hours of pickups and 30 minutes of gameplay and chat and everything else.
If he didn't deal with the chat, it might be quicker, but he's got it. You know, he's very engaging with his audience, so he reads everyone.
They love that.
They do. They love it, and so yeah, be prepared, because if you want to see the goodies that he got, which you will want to see, especially if you're an Intellivision lover, he's got other things in there. He's got some 2600 stuff. He's got some NES stuff. He's got some.
Oh man,
merch.
Phil, I'm sure you know there was some good 2600 releases, and there's some good ones on the way, and I played them.
I know.
I found a cartridge of the original library that I don't own, but it was $250, so I had to pass on it. But it's very rare now that I come across part of the original 2600 library that I don't have. Torque says, sorry, I'm trying to fly through the chat. Torque says, as I think about it, while I'm all in on the Intellivision Sprint, I'm confident enough in a future cart-capable version that I'm starting my Intellivision acquisitions now before it all goes nuts. Probably not a bad idea.
I was just going to say, I didn't get the PRGE, but Casey was kind enough, and I asked him prior to him going, and he graciously agreed to pick me up some stuff. So I did get some of the new stuff from Champ Games and a number of Intellivision homebrews. Not nearly what I wanted, but I got a few. So I'm really excited.
And I had a little fun with Phil on that.
Yeah, he did. You dog. he called me. He calls me, right, and he says, and you have to understand too. I was actually in church when he was doing this.
Oh boy,
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So anyway, so I step out in the hallway, and whatnot, and it's like, well, I'm here because I already told him what I wanted from John Champeau, and I had actually talked to John, and he's like, well, I
got over
was a
there
little late
late.
getting over to the table, and John he's got 2 of the 3 games, and I said, which one doesn't he have? And he goes, the one that's like Burger Time or whatever, and that's the one I really, really wanted to get. I'm like, oh man. And I said, that's all right. Just get me what you can, And little did I know I was probably on speakerphone, and John Champeau was standing right there.
He was laughing. He was
laughing.
laughing.
He got them all for me, so I was really happy about that. So I have every game offering from Champ Games, and that's not a small feat for people who are retired. So
this Atari guy above me also got some Intellivision games.
Yeah, he did. Attaboy.
Yeah,
some good ones too.
Yep. I wanted all that I didn't have, which there were a number of them, but there's just no way. Just no way. So,
Operation Shutdown says that this is where he turns to for his Intellivision news.
He's on my channel.
while Retro Bliss and myself really appreciate that. Really, I'm serious, guys. If you are at all interested in television and you are not subscribed to this guy down here, which I'm going to take this down so that you can see, he's the Intellivision gamer. He's our source for Intellivision news. I'm pretty connected within the Intellivision community, and even then, like his show on Monday, even if you don't stick around for like the horse racing or the homebrew highlighters or whatever, he tells you the news of what's going on every week.
And he's engaging with the chat, and he's very genuine. Mike's very genuine. Casey's very genuine. It's easy. I haven't met actually Casey in person, but I've had a number of conversations behind the scenes with him, and he is just as real on the phone or video as he is in person, as he is on his channel. I mean, and it's a pleasure to have him on the show. And like I said, if you don't have him as a sub, you need to be a sub to his channel. You really do.
I appreciate that, guys. Likewise too.
Thank you very much, Mark Bear. I appreciate that. Welcome to. He's an MGG supporter. Timeless Tony. I could tell you without reservation that every single one of us knew that we were going to be talking about the Sprint today. So nobody gets individual credit. We're all like, yeah, we got to talk about the Sprint.
I mean, I wasn't even home yet, but I can't miss this.
Yeah, and so it's funny because Phil sent me a message in our Discord. It's like, I'm going to invite Casey and the Television Gamer. I'm like, I thought that was a given. Yeah, with this you have to invite Casey.
Which, by the way, Brian couldn't make it. Brian Ditfield from BD Retro Mods. He's a regular panelist on the show, and while he's wasn't at PRGE, I value his. I definitely value.
Apparently, family is more important than the podcast.
Isn't that's horrible? But anyway, we missed having Brian on the show tonight. But man, this is exciting news, guys. If you guys, especially if you're not interested in necessarily collecting carts, this is what you need to get. This is what you need to get. I wasn't sure, but I've ordered mine already. I was skeptical myself. It won me over. Where do you go for your Amico news? To YouTube 5 years ago.
Yeah, I can't wait to post one of these bad boys with all the ROMs I have, homebrew original, right there in the living room, wires, controllers. It's going to be perfect. I'll be able to play a lot more of those homebrew games when I don't have to head upstairs, piss everyone off.
Yeah.
Well, Casey, thanks for coming on.
And the other thing too, just my final thought is, if you've got like a television where you got your Blu-ray player, or that's where you watch all your Netflix and stuff, and then you've got your dedicated game room, even if you're like, oh, I play carts all the time and all that, this is a great thing to hook up to the other TV. You don't have to walk over and get all your games. You have a USB in there with a full library, and you just play whenever you want. It's a great way to do it.
You guys, I'm in my studio, and you guys can't see what's going on, but over here on this side, I have some shelving that I built, and I've got the 400 mini. I got a 2600 plus. I got the C64. I've got the Atari VCS. You know, all plugged into an HDMI splitter. You know. And I would love to have that over here as well, the Sprint over here as well. Even though I do emulate through Michael's front end called PID EJL, I think is how, I don't know.
Yeah,
the acronym stands for something, but and it works great. It works great, and it actually probably is. There's a lot less lag playing it through that, but getting this Sprint is going to be big. Going to be big,
and
so
it's
anyway.
Coming soon. Usually these things get announced and you have to wait a long time, but December 5th is going to be here before we know it. And one thing I don't think we talked about, where'd the name come from? The Running Man, sprinting, the Running Man. So that's where they got it.
I figured that.
So I'm gonna end the poll here. I put a poll. I had 43 votes, and 86% say they're buying an Intellivision Sprint.
I wasn't able to participate, but I bought 2 so far.
Well, so far. Yeah, that's on the low end for you.
Well, I mean, I will have to have one of these to stay sealed, and I'll have to have several to use, so.
And, there's a lot of people, there's a few Amico jokes going around, but apparently Atari does what Amic don't.
Hey, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does sound a little familiar, but...
All right, with that, guys, I think we're going to call it a night it's been a great show. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. For those of you who are over on Mike's Gaming Gala, thank you for watching over there as well, since we simulcast over there. Casey, glad you're home in the driveway now, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, I got home about, I don't know, close to 30 minutes ago. I don't remember really.
Okay.
I can't.
Well,
otherwise his car's driving itself and his family just disappeared.
Yeah, they're gone. So, well, I'm glad you made it home safe, brother. And we will see you guys next time on Retro Bliss Rewind. Okay, see you next time. Bye.